Okay, guys, good afternoon. I'm just trying to catch up on a lot of questions that are building up in the background. So I'm going to run through three of them today. We'll get the rest done later in the week, and then we'll get back into our instructionals towards the weekend. First one I want to address is from Caleb. And he was asking what, in my opinion, was the overall goal of Miyagi in Goju-ryu. And I think probably like most of us, that changed throughout the course of his life and depending upon, what age he was at, what was going on locally, what was going on a global scale with regard to World War II. So I think his intentions with the art actually changed a lot, which can be seen even within his approach of how he taught the art and what he taught and when. So if we look at the early stages after the death of his teacher Kamuro Higona, he's quoted as saying it feels like he's groping in the dark. He's trying to search for something. He's visiting different teachers. He's going back and forth to China. He's befriending, teachers of other systems. He's creating study groups across styles. So not just Goju-ryu. He's interacting with Shuichei practitioners, with Motobu De practitioners, with all the Chinese practitioners. There's a lot going on, and it's almost an era where he's trying to understand that which he learnt from Higona. Still had questions after the death of his teacher, and just trying to kind of like make sense of what he had. Following that seems to be the acceleration phase of his teaching, whereby he starts to amass students. He's on his own 2 feet. He doesn't need this group around him anymore. He's quite confident in what he's doing. And his art really starts to take shape with the addition of the Junbyundo, with the kind of refinement of the Hojo-undo. Again, I was told different stories from different people, but people say, the Hojo-undo come from Kamuro Higona. From what I was told from Hokama, a lot of the exercises come from Miyagi Chojun after having had discussion with Jinsei Kame, I want to say his name. He was a physician on the mainland who was instrumental in helping him, create the Junbyundo. But from my understanding, he had a lot to do with the Hojo-undo as well. So we saw this real structured approach to Hojo-undo for the first time within his system, whereas everyone else is they got the tools, but there's not really this real structure to it. Miyagi was the first one to really codify what he was doing with it, along with the Junbyundo. And then we start seeing his writings, whereby he's back and forth to the mainland, and it's almost like he's trying to now spread this art, and there's this national identity about him where he's proud to be an Okinawan, and he wants to kind of like boost the standing of his nation and his people in the eyes of the Japanese, who traditionally looked down upon the Okinawans as being the poor cousins sort of thing. So he wanted to raise that perception of them. And his dream was to see karate on the same standing as the traditional Japanese Budo. So he wanted to see it on a level with judo, with kendo, with jukendo, with all these elitist approaches on the mainland, where karate was kind of seen as something for the thuggish and the ruffians. So that seems to have been his approach around sort of like the 1930s, is really trying to get karate accepted. And then if we look at obviously the impact of World War II, he's lost students, he's lost his home, he's lost children, he's lost, friends, all his research materials. Basically everything he knows has now been flipped on his head. And he's like, well, all I've got left now is this art. Everything else has been taken from me. So now we see, rather than teaching just a handful of kata, just 1 or 2 kata to each student, well, now it's like, right, I need to get all of this out, and I need to kind of give them that. So maybe some depth is held back a little bit in favor of, getting as much information out as you can and letting people learn as many kata as they can, so that the system itself survives, even if the research and the background information is now gone. At least the art survives. So now we have, what we have now, the carcass of the art to pick at and try to make sense of all these years down the line. So in that respect, he was successful. So that is what I believe kind of he wanted from his art at different stages of his life. And, we can argue till the cows come home, what stage was the best, was the old school kata better than the new school kata or whatever. And it's largely irrelevant, because ultimately, even if you learn the pre-war kata, you're still gonna have a million questions. Whether you're Meibukan, Shodokan, whatever. Everyone seems to be asking the same questions still. So for me, it's largely irrelevant whether you're pre-war or post-war with regard to kata. No one really knows what they're doing with it. So, all we can do is kind of work backwards from what we've got and try to make sense of the things of what we've got, which, is why you guys are here, so that we can go in depth. Me being somewhat independent, I'm not linked to any group anymore or any particular lineage. It's just, I look at all the Goju-ryu from the different branches I've studied over the years and try to make my best effort at making sense of it according to the different sources. And I put a post out on Instagram today about beware of the student of one teacher, because all you have is that direct line of information, and then to question anything outside of that line is then frowned upon. And you guys have probably all experienced this yourself, as I did. For me, I like to take a little bit more of a bird's eye view of the overall picture and think, okay, well, they're doing that, that's completely different, somewhere lies in the middle. And I try to find the middle ground and all this stuff, and what makes the most sense for me, my body type, my personality, my personality traits, and choose the best thing that fits for me. And then, okay, well, now I've got all this information. Well, now I've got this particular student, he's got no shoulder mobility and he's an aggressive dude. So I said, okay, I'll need to teach him this kind of approach. This guy, he's super chilled, he's very meek, he's very withdrawn. Okay, he needs a slightly different approach to it. So knowing all the different aspects of Goju-ryu taught upon different times, two different types of students of Miyagi Chojun who all had their own personalities, that then gives you better pool of information to draw upon to now help all these individuals down the line if you go down the route of becoming a teacher.